Hello everyone, welcome to the February edition of WatchGuard Tech Tips and Tricks in the East region. I'm Julia Forsyth, member of the field marketing team, joined by Mark Sargent, our sales engineer from the Mid-Atlantic, Stephen Sotelo from the Southeast, and Jim Davidson from the Northeast. I am happy to introduce today's 30-minute session, which will cover WatchGuard's AuthPoint updates. WatchGuard's vision, as you know, is to provide a unified security platform that reduces complexity and improves security operations and management. WatchGuard's AuthPoint is WatchGuard's multi-factor authentication solution. AuthPoint is a cost-effective, complete MFA solution with the security layer you need to protect your users, their identities, assets, and information. It's a fully managed solution in WatchGuard Cloud. It costs less than a cup of coffee a month per user, and trials are super simple to light up, so try it out. Today, Mark will cover and demo some of the newer features and updates to WatchGuard's AuthPoint. A little bit of admin for today's webinar. During today's session, we encourage questions via the chat and Q&A panel. We'll be giving away two $25 Visa and Amazon gift cards to the correct responses for our poll questions, and our SEs will respond to any questions that you have during the update. So keep the questions coming in. If we don't get to them, we'll follow up with you afterwards. Our winners last month were Ed and Patrick. We hope you enjoyed your prizes. May I now introduce Mark Sargent, our wonderful Mid-Atlantic sales engineer, who will provide an update of the features and benefits of WatchGuard's AuthPoint, supported by Jim Davidson and Stephen Sotelo. We're delighted to have you on this session as active members of the WatchGuard community, of our partners and customers. Enjoy the session. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Julia, and welcome everybody. As I'm sure you know, we try to do a rotating session on what's new in WatchGuard, and so this month we're doing what's new in AuthPoint. I think the last one we probably did was about 5 or 6 months ago. So this is, the updates and features and things that we've added in that time. So one of the things is actually, and I'll show this, it seems simple, but we now have search capabilities in the IDP portal. So if you're posting SAML applications and you have a lot of them, like we do in our own WatchGuard IDP portal, sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome to search for them. Now you can easily search by any name in the IDP portal to come up with applications. We've also added some external identity information, some new pop-ups on when the synchronization is going to take place. As you can see, the LDAP external identity you can configure it for every 24 hours, and it uses the same time interval as the time zone of the LDAP server that it's syncing from. And then for Azure AD, it uses UTC time. So we some new integrations, so some new SAML integrations for your IDP portal over the time. So we've got these and they're all documented. AuthPoint agent for Windows, the version 2.8. This is a big one, and I'll actually show this in WatchGuard Cloud here in a minute, but we've redesigned it so that it gives you more control over how it handles logons from users that don't have an AuthPoint account. So you can now have these 3 options. Do not allow non-AuthPoint users. That would force anybody who's logging on to that workstation or that server to have an actual AuthPoint license. Allow specific non-AuthPoint users to log in without MFA. This has been a feature for a while, but you could only allow 50 non-specific AuthPoint users with that. We've now added allow all non-AuthPoint users to log in without MFA. So if you're really, I don't know why anybody would want to, but some for cybersecurity purposes or cybersecurity insurance purposes just want to protect the admin users, and so sometimes they'll use this, allow all non-AuthPoint users, and just license the administrator user. So this is some of the new resources, new configuration, new UI enhancements. When you add a resource, then you choose it through the drop down Same with the external identity, whether it be LDAP or Azure AD, kind of reconfigured that. Same with the tokens, kind of keeping it all in line in the UI. This is one of the big updates is the ability to do a geokinetics policy object. So we've had time, we've had network location, we've had geofencing for a while, and now we've got geokinetics that says it's impossible for somebody that just logged on in New York City to an hour later try and log on from LA. And that's what this is about. I actually have one set up, so I'll show it. And you create a name, what the velocity, so that's, you know, typical airplane miles per hour. And so again, it would take 5 hours before you could log in at least to, you know, a resource from LA if you were in New York previously. So it compares the current location and the location of their last valid authentication, and it will automatically deny. So nobody will get a push or anything like that. So this is a use case. An attacker from another country has obtained a user's logon credentials and attempts to log in. The attacker uses social engineering or push bombing to get the user to approve the push notification. But with geokinetics, even if the user approves the push, AuthPoint denies it because you couldn't have traveled that fast. So that's kind of the use case. Geokinetics policy objects do not work with Radius or the AuthPoint agent for Mac OS. And to support authentication with the geokinetics policy, you must install these versions of the AuthPoint agents. So for Windows, it's got to be 12.271 or higher. For RD Web, 142 or higher, and ADFS 120 and higher. We've got a new version of the AuthPoint Gateway 7.1, which is available, has been available for some time. We've also got some other updates. The AuthPoint mobile app for Android is now version 2.02. Likely you will have automatically gotten the update on your phone or on your mobile device. It has updates to the password manager, which is part of total identity security, which is in beta still, and hopefully will be released in the coming months. Some other bug fixes and things. AuthPoint mobile app for iOS was updated as well. Some very similar reasons, the password manager and so on and so forth. And all of this can also be found in the what's new PowerPoint in our documentation. We've got a new ADFS agent, and that's it. So let's dive into WatchGuard Cloud and look at a couple of these things. Number one, as you saw, we've got a lot of updated agents that we released. If you don't know it, we do not auto update computers, servers, gateways, or anything like that with AuthPoint software. The reason being is we don't want to cause a disruption or assume that this time is a good time to do the update. So we don't do that, but we do release all of the new software under AuthPoint general downloads. So you see here, the Windows and Mac agents were recently updated, the Windows agents on February 2nd. And then here is the new gateway installer, 712-600, updated 26 January. Highly recommend that you, in your maintenance window, go ahead and, update the gateway and then have a plan to roll out the new logon app if that's what you're using as well. Under policy objects, here is all of the policy objects. So here is, where you click add the policy object, and then you've got your drop down here. So geofencing, network location, time schedule, been there for a while. Here is the geokinetics. So just like in the PowerPoint, you put a name, put the velocity, how fast you think somebody can go. And this gives you a little informational too. Deny authentications if the distance between the current authentication and the previous cannot be traveled at that speed. The default is 600 miles an hour because that's the average speed of a commercial airplane. And then you could put some IP exceptions in here and also consider authentications that have location data with low accuracy. So you may get some false positives if you check that box. But you'll see, let's see, in my authentication policies now, here is one for VPN logins. So I've got my group, I've got my resources, and then I use these in conjunction with that. So only somebody located in the US can log on to these resources for a VPN. So I limit my VPN connectivity to US, and then I have a GeoKinetics policy east-west that I left at the default. So again, if somebody tries to log in New York and then tries to log in from LA, it's going to get denied if a 5 to 6 hour time period has not passed. I think some of the other things, like I said, the updates is here's your choose your resource type. Like I said, which is an update. Additionally, if you add a SAML resource, here is the integration guides. So it'll take you right to the link for any of the integration guides and things like that on how to implement, specific. So if I do that, it'll take me directly to the integration guide for that specific integration. Let's see. So go ahead and cancel. And I think that is about all I have to demo and discuss. Do we have anything to go over, Stephen or Jim?
I do see a couple questions. I think I was, is the IDP portal the SSO solution from Kevin? Yes, the IDP portal does provide single sign-on access to resources. And then Alan asked, how can you update all the agents without connecting to all the devices? RMM or GP? Yes, Alan, I would recommend scripting it out using an RMM. You can use the Datto RMM, as you mentioned. So there are, and you could use, there are a few different ways you can roll it out in mass. So, and we do have some documentation on that.
Yeah, and typically from a gateway standpoint, I would want to have a maintenance window and manually do that. I don't know if I would have a RMM tool. And typically you're not going to have that many gateways to update. I can see using an RMM tool for the logon app for Windows or for Mac or something like that, but gateway I personally would manually do that in a maintenance window. Do we have anything else?
Shall I launch a couple of poll questions and give
Mark,
people time?
There's questions about, Proofpoint, in the SAML and Kaseya 1 in the SAML. All the integration guides are up on if you look under AuthPoint integrations. If there's not one there, open a case with support. And a lot of times, every time I tend to log on, there's always new ones up there. So the support engineers, as they do new integrations, they put how to integrate with that particular product.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to launch a couple of poll questions. If you have any additional questions for the guys, I'll give you some time to answer those.
Okay.
After the polls. Just give everybody their chance to win the $25 gift cards, because I know there's a few out there that want to win today. Here's the first one. Does WatchGuard update software agents automatically? And this was pretty clear because Mark showed it. So should know the answer to this one. All right, we're at about 30 seconds almost. 60% of you have voted. Have a pun if you don't know about, like, as I said, Mark showed that this process is done a certain way. Most of you got it right by the looks.
Yep.
And there's a difference between automation and reality. So I'm going to close this one out. And you want to discuss before I launch the next one, Mark?
Yeah. So Christopher asked about what about the password manager? That is coming in the total identity security, which is the upsell version of AuthPoint MFA. So it will be included in, as part of that extra upsell license. It's still in beta, so there's some chances to participate, but we don't have a lot of information or anything to show. So Passport is just a user bundle, and don't know if that is going to include the TIS version of MFA or the AuthPoint MFA itself at this time, because it's not a released product yet. So.
And for those who don't know, Passport includes 8360, our MFA solution, and there's a third product in there too.
Yep. And
yep.
Chris, Timothy asked, when you do the update on the gateway on a server, does it upgrade the settings that were previously configured? Yeah, it doesn't change. It's just updating the version. It's a pretty seamless thing. It's not going to make any changes to that. And Christopher also asked, what about other hardware tokens? I mean, we support other hardware tokens. We also have our own tokens. So there are specifics on the types of hardware tokens that we support. You can find that in our documentation. We do not support YubiKeys.
We do support YubiKeys. We do have a hardware integration guide actually that we just recently released that does allow us now to work with YubiKeys. We didn't a year ago, so it was news to me as well. So yeah, we actually can integrate now with YubiKeys.
Yeah, AuthPoint available on an appliance or just the cloud? I'm not sure exactly. It is a cloud delivered solution, cloud delivered and cloud managed solution. And then we can provide MFA on just about anything that supports Radius. So we can do MFA on an appliance that supports Radius in specific instances. So if you used it, unfortunately, for another vendor's firewall, you could, authenticate via Radius. If you do it with our firewalls, you can do native AuthPoint. AuthPoint native access for the access portal is already there. Remember, it's Firebox native AuthPoint access when you make that cloud connection.
And if people want to get really creative, we do have an API. So you can script it out and integrate it with custom applications if you have that ability.
Yep.
And for my mind blank earlier, the 3 products in the bundle, which is called our Passport solution, 8360, which is Panda's EDR solution, I believe, our DNS Watch Go solution, which is like DNS Watch that you have as one of the 13 services on our firewall, and AuthPoint, our MFA solution. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, just reach out to your account manager and we'd be happy to help you. I'm going to launch this last poll. Final questions before I wrap up.
Julia, he puts, Alan asks about, about the access portal with AuthPoint. When you configure AuthPoint, you actually have to add the access portal into AuthPoint in the cloud, and that's how you end up authenticating from AuthPoint into the access portal.
No, it's not Radius or the database. You got to integrate it via SAML. You absolutely can choose AuthPoint in the access portal. You can absolutely get that done.
All right, final poll question. Submit any additional questions you might have while this is going on.
There's one there that is 5 hours, the default time frame for logins for GeoKinetics. There is no hours, it's how fast you can travel. So GeoKinetics says if an airplane travels at 600 miles an hour and I log in right now in New York City, it would take me 5 hours to get to LA. So if I try and log in before then, it's going to know that I couldn't have traveled 3,000 miles in that time frame, even at 600 miles an hour. That's what it's all based on speed, not on. And you can use geokinetics for anything if you're using AuthPoint as the default authentication server in the appliance. You can't use Radius, remember I said. So you absolutely, if your appliance, if your Firebox is connected to WatchGuard Cloud so that you can natively authenticate to AuthPoint, then you can absolutely use geokinetics. My policies right here, authentication policies, that's exactly what I'm doing right here on this VPN logins with a geokinetics and a geofencing policy.
And Mark, I'll get you to show that in a minute because all they can see is the poll open.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay. And poll questions so that you can have a chance at this $25 gift card. Where do you find AuthPoint software agents? This one's pretty easy because there's a lot of dud answers in there. Most of you, again, have got it right. For a while there, I had 100%, so I thought we'd done a really good job, Mark.
Excellent.
That's the minute. I think I'll shut it off now and hand it back to your demo.
Yeah, so here's the VPN policy that I have right here. So these members of the group Auth can use these resources. And then there's my geokinetics. Now, it actually, if I try to use one of these two resources, it actually wouldn't work because this is offloading to the Radius. But see these ones here that say Firebox? This would work because that's using the native AuthPoint authentication, and that's what I generally use anyway.
Hey, Mark, show in the drop down under resources where you would add the access portal there.
Yeah, so, well, here is my access portal.
Okay,
I mean, I have it. So here's mine right here as a SAML application integrated with an IDP portal. And so what happens is, I can actually show this and then, is I go to my IDP portal. Here it is right here. Let me go ahead and allow that. Here's my branding. I go ahead and log on. And you'll also notice that it doesn't ask me to it doesn't ask me to actually MFA. The reason why is because I'm taking advantage of the home of the network location. So this is the policy that allows it. So here is my access portal SAML. Here's my IDP portal that I have. But when I'm here, you'll notice I have a policy set up that I'm only required to use a password when I'm at any of these IP addresses, which I currently am. So if I come over here now, it just asks for passwords. So let me go ahead and log in a password. Go ahead and finish. I type there, and here is my access portal. I click on that. I get redirected, automatically logged in, and here is my access portal with my RDP sessions, my reverse proxy web-based sessions, so into my mail server, and also my SSH sessions into my switch locally. So there you go.
Alan, for the Firebox config, you'll have to work with Mark online. We're only going over AuthPoint today.
Yeah, and it's all in the integration guide. There is, if you look, and then I think we'll wrap it up. If you go to, let's see, AuthPoint integration guides, Firebox access portal integration with AuthPoint. There it is right there. So this will tell you what you need to do on the Firebox side. This will tell you what you need to do on the AuthPoint side with the IDP portal and all that sort of stuff. So I'll even paste that into Actually, can I paste it in the chat window?
I can also include it in the post-event email, Mark. So
Yeah.
I might have been able to paste it into one of the answers. Not sure if it was the right answer.
Anyway, so it's right there under the integration guides. And without further ado, I think we'll call that a wrap. Good questions, thanks.
Yeah, it was excellent and a very great demo today, Mark. Really appreciate you doing that for us live in real time. An excellent update on WatchGuard's AuthPoint and for some excellent questions from the audience. We appreciate you and we appreciate you being part of the community. If we didn't get to your question today, if you still want to submit more, we'll follow up with you after the session. We appreciate you being part of the WatchGuard community. I'll draw those winners from the poll questions, the correct answers. Jim, do you want to tell them what the correct answers were? I think that the correct answers are no, we do not update the agents automatically. So you need to understand, as Mark, if you want to review his presentation today, I'll send out that recording within 72 hours. You can see it in action. And the second poll question was, you can find the AuthPoint software agents under WatchGuard Cloud, configure AuthPoint and downloads. So for anybody that got those right, I'll be sending out those gift cards via Ribbon within 24 hours. For a randomly selected couple of people. The recording of this session, as I said, will be available within 72 hours, so feel free to review that. And if you have any questions, our team are always available. I'll send you the link with the recording, which is posted as a hidden link on our WatchGuard YouTube channel. And our third session of 2023 will be held on the 16th of March, and I believe Jim will be hosting that one. We hope you can join us again then. We appreciate your time and thank you very much, Mark and the team.